Hey, good evening, viewers. Yes, welcome to My Talent, My Strength. And today we're going to be talking to somebody who's super senior, an academician, wherein he himself has transited from working in a corporate to the academia. Yes, you already have seen it. I'll be bringing Professor Suresh Paul Antony onto the show. Today's session is going to be super interesting because you're going to listen uh, at through the lens of a very leading academician, as well as somebody who has lived his corporate life, and you're going to see how his talents and how his strengths land in his life currently, and how they also helped him make the beautiful transition. Isn't that great? Yes. Without a delay, let's bring Professor Suresh on the show. So, good evening.
Good evening. Hello. Good evening, viewers. Thank you for
Thank you
this.
so much for making it today, sir. I have been, this is one of the most exciting shows for me because I've been waiting this for really long. Honestly, thank you so much for gracing the show
Thank
for the
you. Thank
benefit
you.
of, yes, sir, yeah, for the benefit of our viewers. Professor Suresh has been in the academia since 1999. Just before we got online, I was kind of asking him exactly how this shift happened, because he has worked with leading corporates, he has worked in the services industry, he has worked with products. And I remember he used to take classes for us when I was doing my postgraduate diploma in advertising and brand management, and he was handling marketing classes for us. And he is to in every single class get such awesome beautiful live examples that we literally felt we were going through the whole case study. He used to make us think and bring forth such amazing conversations and really dwell in the topic. So I would really like to ask you, Professor, firstly, how was the transition from the corporate to the academia, and why are you so passionate about what you do?
Yeah, it's a very good question, Leela. Thank you for asking this question. You see, from early days, I used to do a lot of training within the company. So
Mm-hmm.
I remember still when I was with Sear Tires, we had these mentorship program where I think a dozen of us across the country were chosen to mentor new recruits. So I was one of those dozen guys.
Mm-hmm.
In the south, I remember probably we were two or three of us. I was one of them.
Mm-hmm.
South means those days Andhra, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, and these four large states. And they used to undergo an office training and a field training with me, freshly recruited, sales guys. So over a period of time, I was very fascinated that I was enjoying this as much
Mm-hmm.
as I was enjoying the selling and the marketing.
Mm-hmm.
We also used to do a lot of training for state transport corporations, for large fleet accounts on how to better use tires, how to maximize the life. Okay. Although it was able to figure out from the user perspective. And, I started enjoying this over a period of time. And right across from, the tire industry days to the automotive industry to direct selling to music, financial services, one major component of my job was on training, either training your own, employees, your colleagues, or training your sales force, or educating customers, which is also a kind of a training. So at some point of time, I figured I was enjoying this more than the actual job of marketing and selling, and that was at the top of my mind. It was eating my happiness that I need to look at the long term career, and that's when I moved into teaching. But then teaching was a different ball game. My first year of teaching was a unmitigated disaster, a near-death experience, because I didn't know the whole picture, and you start with somewhere in between without understanding what the students have undergone before, okay? And they come to you, you have no knowledge of it because you have been away from academics for 14 long years. And suddenly you are into the thick of it, and it's like putting you in the into the sea. in
Wow.
the middle in the middle of the sea. And I can tell you it was a disaster, and I thought I should go back to industry.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah, I seriously did think that I should get back to industry, that this is not my cup of tea.
Thankfully,
Uh,
you didn't.
yeah, maybe. I hope you're telling the truth.
I am telling the truth. Otherwise, I wouldn't have you in this
All
show.
right. All right. So then the opportunity came to, we had those days the national eligibility test for lecturership. You had to write an exam. And that
Hmm.
exam gave me the preparation I prepared for the entire, domain of marketing management. So it helped
Hmm.
me, reading the basic text, taking notes by hand. And I was able to, connect the whole picture and then relate it back to my own industry days. And there were many aha moments, where I used to think, oh my, we could have done this in this company, we could have done that. It also helped me to understand why some companies did what they did and did not do
Hmm.
necessarily what I thought they should have done. There was
Hmm.
there is a very clear strategy behind this. So it was wonderful. It was so wonderful reading the text and then able to connect it back to practice. And therefore, when my students tell me that theory and practice are far apart, I don't agree with them at all, because I saw myself, okay, but a little late in life,
You're
how the
seeing
theory.
theory in practice.
Exactly, looking back in
That
retrospect.
that's the beauty of your sessions, because you make it so beautifully student centric. It kind of revolves around our understanding, and you kind of feed it into our world as to how best we can get a particular concept. uh let's shift gears a little, professor, and if you can tell us, during this transition from your corporate to the academia, what were your talents at play at that point of time? What do you think were at the top for you?
You see, I was just thinking aloud I'm just thinking aloud when you mentioned that, according to you, I was able to make it, easily understandable to the students. I think the fact remains that I was doing it more for my benefit than for you. You know what I'm saying? In the sense that I myself was seeking those answers. Yeah, I myself was seeking those answers because now I realize I'm a learner. The strength,
Exactly.
yeah. So therefore, I was learning myself, and therefore I was able to put myself. I'm just guessing that I was
Hmm.
able to put myself in the place of another learner, right? And
Empathy.
yeah, maybe empathy as well as is coming into play. So this connectedness, the ability to look at the large picture and connect dots, like even in the elective that I teach now, I'm able to bring in learnings from other electives, like
Hmm.
consumer behavior. I don't teach consumer
Hmm.
behavior, but I'm able to bring those learnings from there and other courses, right? That is because I am very particular that we need to understand the whole picture, and that whole picture is absolutely essential for us to really move ahead. Those why questions can be answered only if you know the whole
If you
picture.
get the whole picture right,
Right,
absolutely.
right. Otherwise, those why questions will never be asked, can never be even, you cannot even dream of attempting to answer those why questions.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Hmm.
if you don't know the whole picture. So that is one. Yeah,
That's how
go
your
ahead.
sessions used to be with us. Okay. Probably we used to come to the center of the whole thing somewhere during the mid, but first the whole picture was beautifully
Yeah,
laid out, and
yeah,
then the scenario was set, and then that's when you used to give us problems to really work and solve around, and the kind of
yeah,
questions you used to ask us was actually what made us think. So
yeah.
as you rightly said, it's setting the whole context right. That's when
Mm,
you can, I kind of am reminded of this. It's the context that gives the content. So
right.
you actually put the entire context in place, the content
Yeah,
automatically appears.
yeah. And this is the reason I think probably I'm able to connect with students. Even this last interview I did with one of my students for Insight.com, she used the word that I was able to connect with my students.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the word that she used. So I was, I'm just thinking, I'm contemplating, reflecting on this, and I didn't know all this, that these were my strengths. But even before that, I used to call myself as the senior learner in the classroom. I don't prefer to call to be called as a guru or a teacher or a professor. I prefer to be called as a senior learner, and all my kids in the classroom as junior learners. Not
Mm.
because I have a few more gray hair than them, but I've been reading this subject for a little while longer than them. So therefore, I'm a senior learner, and still you are in the journey of learning. There is no end to it. One lifetime is definitely not enough to know all that should be known in marketing. Seriously.
You're a picture perfect example for who a learner is. Learning never ends. I am a
Yeah,
senior learner,
yeah,
and
yeah.
one whole lifetime is really not enough.
Yeah, not enough.
uh, I don't think what you said right now, there is any better description of a learner under the Gallup themes. So beautifully said. Absolutely. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah. So for me, asking those questions. In fact, like some of them, colleagues, especially when we go as a group, they would ask me, "Hey, why are you asking these stupid questions?" But to me, no question is stupid. Every
Mm-hmm.
question has it opens a door to something else,
Mm-hmm.
and you can always connect later on. But that connection has to happen. Like somebody says, this Newton's theory of Apple, because
Mm-hmm.
it didn't happen by accident. It was because Newton had a prepared mind. It was not
Exactly.
serendipity. Yeah, it is not serendipity. So these connections happen not just of the blue. It is not an accident. It happens because you have prepared yourself. You have asked those questions to yourself. It has been in your mind. Okay, that is when you are able to make those connections. Otherwise, you will be never able to make those connections.
This is beautifully your connectedness married with your intellection that's playing out at this
Yeah.
moment.
Okay.
I'm just trying to bring our viewers the beautiful essence of each talent theme. Thankfully, Sir has decoded all 34 talent themes of his.
Yeah.
So, when all 34 are laid out, yes, you know what his signature themes are. It's on displayed on the screen. But when you get to know the rest of 5 to 34, it kind of perfectly describes the individual, or you kind of get to know the blueprint very beautifully. So what he is right now describing is that very deep connectedness with intellection. So there is a connection, there is no stupid questions, there is a connection, and when you kind of look deep into it, you get the reasoning behind. Am I right, sir?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And you never know when you would be able to make those connections. You have to
Exactly.
wait for it. Yeah, yeah. You'll have to wait for it. So it is a mind that is prepared and waiting for that wisdom. Otherwise, it
Hmm.
is just knowledge. That wisdom comes from, or I think connectedness will probably lead to wisdom one fine day. I don't know when it will happen. Uh,
Connectedness and intellection.
hmm. Yeah,
Honestly, this few sessions that I've had with you on the Gallup Strength Finder has opened up so many different avenues inside of me. Um,
okay.
I was not in a coaching conversation at all. I was wearing a learner's hat while I was having a conversation with you, and I kind of was able to see so beautifully the different strengths at play. And I truly enjoyed, sir. I truly enjoyed having these
Thank you.
conversations with you, and it gave me so beautifully that clarity of how the strengths wiring happens. And we spoke a lot about belief. Again, belief is not there in your top five, but
Yeah,
belief is there in your top 10. So
yeah,
would you want to share about your belief and how it kind of shapes you as an individual as
yeah.
well?
You're very right. I'm very strong on these, on what I value. And when I
Mm-hmm.
was looking at these strengths, I figured out why I'm so passionate and why sometimes I'm so uncompromising in some of the core values. Absolutely no
Exactly.
compromises. Like I figured out that I'm even willing to make sacrifices to get those things that are very important to me. Mm, yeah, but sometimes maybe you might be seem to be kind of dogged and maybe aggressive, but I wouldn't say so. It would be more like you believe in it, but yet you are still yet you are still ready to correct yourself, to do a little bit of unlearning and
Mm-hmm.
correct your beliefs. Change your beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that the beliefs are written in stone. For the
Mm-hmm.
moment, written in stone, but I think I have also kind of changed some of my beliefs.
over a
Uh,
period of time.
yeah, over a period of time, I think I have. But it looks like I hate to do things that are not aligned with my values. I
Value
absolutely
system,
hate. Yeah,
absolutely.
I absolutely hate to do that, and it creates a lot of stress. And I'm better off by quitting that role rather than plodding on with it, because I am not able to do it to the best of my ability. Yeah,
Mm-hmm,
and I think that
mm-hmm.
is where the responsibility comes in.
Responsibility, beautifully, absolutely, very well said,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
So when we were having this conversation with sir, what came out beautifully is that he's a learner, a very ardent executor, but with a very deep rooted human element. um, Something that's so beautifully wired is how he connects to people around him. So I was just having this walk around with him in the campus, and I could see how people connect with him. I think the greatest asset you have is the kind of people, and how as students we really love you, sir, because you kind of seem to make that deep impact on the learning itself, that it goes beyond just those classrooms into who we are. It kind of gets into the elements of who we are. So thank you so much for helping us evolve, not just as students but as individuals in your session. So that's something I would definitely acknowledge you for.
Thank you, Leela. That brings me to mind early on, while I was even in college, I was taught that one of the important aspects of anybody who speaks in public
Mm-hmm.
is eye contact.
Okay.
Okay, is eye contact and the body language. Like maintaining eye contact is absolutely essential in the classroom. If you are able
Mm-hmm.
to look somebody in the eye, you are able
Mm-hmm.
to see whether he has understood, whether she has understood, not understood, and you can read it in their face. Whether somebody has understood, he has a problem, he doesn't agree with what you say, and therefore, as a teacher, I think that is something very much required for my profession. And that's something we miss out when we do these online classes, because we're not able to
Mm-hmm.
we're not able to see the person at the other end. Uh, so so that becomes part of the, I don't know whether it is empathy or the, I think it's also about responsibility, that I take responsibility for the learning that takes place, and I need to try my level best to ensure that I pitch my teaching at the level of every learner in the class. I mean, it's very difficult. There are always these students who are fast learners. There are others who are
Mm-hmm.
not so fast learners. And where do you pitch is a very big
To keep
challenge all
both
the
of
time.
them engaged.
Correct. So the very good learner, the fast learner, he shouldn't feel it is very slow paced, whereas the other
Mm-hmm.
person shouldn't think it is too quick paced. He's not able to understand. So that way, there's yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
Look at the fine tuning that you're working on, okay?
Mm, mm,
It's
mm.
like it's just not about delivering the content, but it's really about landing it beautifully to different sets of people.
Yeah, yeah.
So if we really have to speak in the eyes of talent, what is it that you have to say? You learn about your students first and then approach it.
We try to do a little bit of looking at their background, what kind of programs they have come from, whether they are in their undergraduate, whether they are from
Hmm.
engineering background. We do that. But I also try to figure out from where they come from. Now, normally I ask them to do one little slide where they introduce themselves.
Hmm.
They photograph their name, their roll number, phone number, email ID, plus one little paragraph. I ask them to write about themselves in a way that I would remember them.
Mm. That's where
Yeah.
you
So,
connect with them.
yeah. So then I am able to, kind of understand their backgrounds from from what context are they talking? Are
Hmm.
they even asking these questions? You
Hmm.
are able to get a fix on that. So yeah.
So beautiful, sir. While you're speaking, each one of your talent themes are at play. Your
Mm.
connectedness, your empathy towards the student, the way you connect with them and their backgrounds, their understanding, and putting your learner hat and kind of looking at how you can deliver best to them. That
Yeah,
sense of responsibility of getting it for, that you are responsible for sharing knowledge and that they actually get it.
yeah,
And again, in this whole context, there's this beautiful relator that's playing in. If not for the relator, probably I would have never come back to you and then connected so beautifully with you.
yeah.
Yeah, so would you want to talk about how your relator beautifully plays in the classroom along with your colleagues and life at large?
Yeah, the fact remains, yes. I mean, when I look at the strengths, I figure out it says I am genuine and authentic.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, yeah, I cannot agree more with this.
Okay.
Genuine and authentic, but there is a flip side to it.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, it is so much on your face, your genuineness and authenticity. So it can be a little,
That you
difficult,
cannot, yeah, you're
difficult
who
for
you
them.
are. There's no
Pardon?
facade out. You are
Exactly.
who you
Exactly.
are.
Exactly. What you see is what you get.
What you get exactly. So superb. So I was just opening your theme sequence where I kind of want to bring that beautiful developer in you, which spoke
Okay.
about belief. If you can speak a little about ideation and command as well, it kind of puts the whole thing in perspective.
Ideation. Ideation. Yeah. 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 I think that also relates to the concept of learning
Mm-hmm.
because ideation is about being open to new
Mm-hmm.
experiences, to new ideas, to new thoughts. And I think I'm pretty open to that. And I'm always fascinated by anything that is new, so
Mm-hmm.
that anything that is new, I may not adopt it myself, but I would like to know what it is.
Mm-hmm. The
Uh,
curious, yeah,
yeah, yeah,
the
curiosity.
combination of you being a learner and an ideation,
Mm,
basically.
mm,
Yeah.
mm, mm. Curiosity, and it's always good to open out to ideas and then do the judgment much later. Don't do the
Mm-hmm.
judgment then and there. The evaluation can come much later, but first finish off the ideation part, and then you'll have a large number of ideas to work with. So
And you distill them out through your
right,
analytical, anyways,
right, and then connect them to what is absolutely required. Hmm? So that is
and
how
bring the
we
core essence out. Very
correct.
beautiful, so very
Correct.
beautiful.
So that is how ideation works for me. And
Superb.
it is about it's not about what is the value of that particular subject or an idea for the moment,
Mm-hmm.
because I know that at the end of the day it will connect somewhere. The connect those dots. It will connect somewhere. You'll have to wait patiently, but it is not just about Mm, utility, there is a utility out of it for the moment. No, the utility will come maybe after 10 years, 15 years, who knows? So you need to wait patiently for that. You know what I mean? So
Yes,
it is not
like how
utility.
you have seeded a few concepts in us, and probably we are using it right now, because earlier, same like you, I was in company, I was kind of in the corporate, and now that I have shifted on and I'm leading the entrepreneurial life, I see a lot of what you had said making sense now. So I had to wait for at least 5 years to get this whole element in. So as you said, everything has a time and space. So you
Right.
seed the knowledge in and let it kindle whenever it has to.
Correct, correct. You never know
Super.
when it's going to come useful to you. Yeah, you never know. See, like even now, when I look back at my own industry days, from tires to five different industries I was working with. Okay, I worked with, and
Mm-hmm.
at that moment, at that time, it appeared very disparate, very discrete. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely
Yeah,
discrete.
yeah,
As
completely
if,
get you.
yeah, as if you're falling from over the edge from this place to another place. Absolute disconnect. But that it was a preparation for my career now. My second career never occurred to me at that time. So it was of no value. People would say, "What is this stupid fellow?" moving from one job to another. Rolling Stone gathers no moss, but a Rolling Stone also gathers some moss. Yeah, and
Yeah.
as long as you're able to absorb things and connect it later, and that connection
And
happens.
probably that's the reason, because I remember in our batch we were so diverse, like we were from different walks, different
Right,
industries, and
right.
you were able to beautifully connect with each one of us and our backgrounds, and give that individual touch is how I kind of connect with your teachings. So probably God was creating you for who you are now.
So therefore, you'll have to surrender to that larger purpose in life. Get a little spiritual, which is one of the
Wow,
values I discovered when I did this exercise with you. Yeah, the value of spirituality. Spirituality and not just religion. Communion
yeah,
with, obedience to, and activity in a relation with a supreme being, with a force which is much larger than us. And I think we have
super.
to wait for that. It may not happen early on in life. It may not happen. It
And
may
I
not happen.
love the discussion that we had, the difference between spirituality and religion, how you beautifully brought that out, and truly amazing that, spirituality is more to do with the soul, and religion probably is just bottling yourself into a very small thing.
And the
So
practice.
amazing discussions, yeah.
Yeah. Religion is more about a practice of maybe sometimes rituals and stuff like that, but spirituality is looking much beyond that. That there is an Atma in every soul which is finally created by one God somewhere, and same in each one of us. So religion is kind of compartmentalizing you, whereas spirituality is universalizing every other human being.
Superb. And I really loved it when we were having this discussion, how you brought in those three elements of into marketing. Can you kind of connect to that?
All right. So religion is about the way we pray, the way we live. What else did I say? So
Faith, faith,
fundamentally, huh?
faith,
Yeah, what we believe in, what we believe, how we pray, and how we live.
live.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah, how we live. So I was connecting it to brands,
yeah,
and that the brand in thought, word, and deed. Okay, in thought,
exactly.
word, and deed. Yeah, in thought, word, and deed, a brand has to live up to the promise that it has already made. Okay, so I was referring to a covenant, a divine promise, which cannot be violated. Yeah. So the people who represent the brand, they have to, in thought, word, and deed, live up to the promise that the brand has made. So this came from a little reading I used to do on theology. This thought, word, and deed. I think that's a very important concept.
Thought, word, and deed connected to brands. This is the first time I've heard an analogy like that. And when I heard it, it was like, this can only happen when there is a spiritual awakening happening inside and you're living it externally as well. So, bingo
I,
to you.
I, I don't know, Leela, to tell you the truth, I don't know whether I'm still liberated. There's a long way to go. There are a
I'm
lot of
not saying
liberated
that,
people.
but it's about you, you know, living in these conversations and how
Yeah,
you're able to bring your understandings to the external world in the beautiful language of a brand. That is what I truly appreciated, because
all right.
marketing textbooks probably don't talk about an analogy like this, right? Whereas
Yeah,
this lands so beautifully inside, because you connect with it, you really connect with it. For me, it's about young ovation living up to my brand promise of
yeah,
helping people live happy, satisfied careers, and not
mm,
just happy, satisfied careers, but also contribute the world through
yeah.
their careers. So it's about living this brand all through. So
Very true, very
thank
true,
you,
very
sir.
true.
Thank you
Very true.
so much.
Yeah, I'm
So, would
happy.
you want to share a little bit about your experience with Young Ovation, and how was the whole sessions, and any new insights that you had? Because you are somebody, for the viewers out here, sir had taken his test around 4 years back. So, he was not new to Gallup. As I said, he his learning curiosity was so high that he kind of really connected back to it, and he wanted to discover more about it. And he truly went through the whole process just like a newbie very hungry and curious to know, and as though he not just like a child, I would say. So would you share your
I agree.
experience?
I agree. I agree. I'm happy. I'm happy to hear that. Yeah. See, my experience with this whole exercise has been an eye opener. It has enabled me to understand myself better. It has enabled me to understand how I'm wired and where these themes land in my life. And as I said, yeah, I was curious like a child. I'm still curious to to dig deeper. And these conversations I had with you, Leela, especially going through those cards and looking at the contrast, your being, doing, contribution, requirements, was really amazing I because now I know the way forward. Okay, which are the themes I need to focus on,
Super.
not just in not just in strategic thinking, maybe a little more on influencing and so on. So it kind of gives you a direction to which you're going, in which you should be going, right? So these are the takeaways for me from this session that I've had with you, the many sessions. I think many hours we have spent on this, right? And
I truly, yeah. And
I
you
would
could?
definitely, I would definitely recommend anyone who is interested to make an impact in life to go through this, because as I told you earlier, I worked in 5 different industries. Many of my students, my colleagues would always ask me, how I did manage this, how I did manage to move from one industry to another. Uh, that has been a question that has fascinated me for a long time. I used to tell them that transferable skills. The starting point for me was I had decided mentally that I would never work for a competitor brand. That
Hmm.
was the value that I had, the belief, very strong belief I had that I will never work for my competitor. So it all started from there. So once that belief was in me, I decided I will not work for a competitor. So I had to look outside the industry. Okay. And when you look outside the industry, you cannot be talking of contextual skills, which obviously will not work. So you have to think in terms of finding skills that are generic. Transferable skills is
Wow.
how some of them call it. And I think your Gallup has helped me actually to figure out what those transferable skills were, even without me, find kind of having a right name for it. Now I have the
Mhm.
right name for it. But at that point of time, I didn't have this name and I didn't have these terms at my command. So therefore, I would suggest anyone who is looking to grow his career, over a long period of time. Otherwise, you'll get stuck in a particular industry, in a particular context. You need to go out of these contexts, take these learnings in this context to another context. That'll be more exciting than staying in the same context for all your life. Okay. So I would definitely recommend anyone who is interested in building a career, whether in corporate or in academia, to at least have a look at these, Gallup Strength Finder to figure out how each one of us is wired. So even in academia, like you figured out, I could connect with students. It has helped me in academia as well. So that's my takeaway, and that's my recommendation for all your viewers.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. So, since we're talking about academia here, we were having such great conversations on, you know, the students and how they kind of get into doing their courses without any thinking. Okay, so they just jump into it. They work for 2 years or 3 years in a corporate, and they kind of say, okay, fine, I need to I need to grow now, and the best thing to do is go do an MBA from a premier institute. It adds a lot of weight onto your resume, and it will get you the kind of job that you really are looking for. What is your view about that, sir?
See, there's a lot of peer pressure acting on them, unfortunately, I would say. And many of them choose careers. Number one, they choose a course of study because they are under pressure from someone else. Okay, or because they find a lot of people doing it, so I will also do it. It's very crazy. I mean, I would definitely say there's a crisis in this country. Maybe in other
Mhm.
at least in this country, you have people chasing somebody else's dreams, and that's a problem. I see a lot of problems there because for the moment it might help getting that first entry level job where at least your educational loan that liability is taken care of. But once that is done, you have this problem where your heart is not in the job, and you find
Exactly.
yourself to be an absolute misfit. You have many of them who would have been probably better teachers, good teachers, okay, ending up in corporate careers, and an absolute misfit. They have been good
Absolutely.
trainers, but they are, doing things that, their heart is not there. Their mind is somewhere, their heart is somewhere, and it can create a lot of stress at the end of the day. I think it's not a good idea. So I would strongly recommend students to chase not others' dreams, but to chase their own dreams. Look at their own strengths and weaknesses, yeah, and figure out how they can, qualify themselves in that area. At the end of the day, be passionate in whatever you do. And I think you can be the best carpenter in this world, or the best plumber in this world, or the best teacher in this world, in the little world that you live in. When I say the world, it doesn't have to be the universe. It could be the little
Correct.
world, the little town that you are, and be the best guy there. That is possible. And I think that's the way to go, rather than chasing somebody else's dreams. It's of no use to you. And after 20 years, 30 years, you ask yourself, what have you done, what have you achieved, and then you cut a sorry figure. You may have material benefits, but then there's no thrill in even enjoying those benefits. Yeah, those
Hmm.
material benefits. Yeah. So that's my advice to the young generation. But I think things are changing.
Yeah.
Today we find there is a trend where people are getting out from their that kind of
Mindsets and
mindset, and willing to explore a little, because they've figured out that opportunities are there, available everywhere.
exactly. So shifting from a survival mindset to a thriving mindset.
Right, 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 right. So you can
Absolutely.
actually even make a career singing. I mean, which
Yeah.
was unthinkable in my days. Today, you look at the explosion of the TV. There are so many competitions for singing, for drama, and things like that, which could never happen in my days, right? So the
Yeah.
opportunities are also much more. And I think because of this information revolution, the balance of power has shifted to the
Exactly.
common man. Much of it. I'm not saying totally, but much of it, and it gives us much more opportunities than the earlier generations, and that needs to be leveraged.
Look at it. Right now we are having a live interview and it's
Yeah,
been broadcasted. So as you're very right, yeah, beautifully said, we're using technology right now, and
right,
it gives common man so much of an access to be who they are and bring the best of who they are out
right.
to the open and get acknowledged and live their life in a very
Very,
beautiful way.
very true, and
Absolutely.
make a difference in the community in which you live, in whatever little small way, even if it is a small way.
So beautifully said, sir. That's exactly what the vision at Young Ovation is. It's just not about living a career and thriving in it, but to be truly able to make a contribution.
Yeah, yeah,
Because
absolutely.
uh, fortunately or unfortunately, as young, we were always being asked, "Hey, when you grow up, what will you be?" Nobody really asked us, "Hey, what are you going to contribute?"
Yeah,
If that whole
yeah,
question changed from, "Buddy, you're born here to contribute. What are you bringing to the planet?"
yeah. Very true. Very true.
So it's going to beautifully shift the way we look at world.
There was this song, Kesara, what will I be? When I was a little girl, I asked my mother, what will I be? I don't know whether you've heard of the song.
No,
Hmm.
please go on.
So, yeah, when I was just a little girl, I asked my mother, what will I be? Will I be pretty? Will I be young? Here's what she said to me. Que sera, sera,
Yeah,
whatever will be, will be. The future's not ours to see. Que sera, sera. So just wait patiently. Just keep doing your job. The future is not ours to see. Yeah, just wait.
superb. So yeah, I've heard this song, and thanks for singing these lines because it connected so beautifully. Thank you so
Yeah.
much, sir. Okay, just
All right.
before we wind up, um, I know you already gave a message to the youth. Uh, is there something beautiful that you would want to say to our viewers with your mighty wisdom and your learnings so far in your life?
Now, as I said earlier, Leela, the world that the current generation lives in is very different. The opportunities available are brilliant, actually, phenomenal. So just take it as it comes, like a child, as you said. Take what comes your way, make the best use of it, give your whole to it. No half measure, no half measure at all. Give it in full and a little more than full. And I'm sure you will reap rewards, not just material rewards. There's also spiritual rewards, the happiness that comes with it. And today, as we said before, the opportunities have exploded because of technology that comes in. But as long as one is willing to learn, yeah, because the skills that you have today will never, in the sense, you may need to do a little reskilling all the time. Okay, so being a learner becomes very
Continuous
important.
learner.
Continuous learning, I think, becomes very important in the next generation, for the next generation, because in my time, a mid-career change. I did a mid-career change. After 14 years in industry, I shifted to academics, and people would look at me and say, "This is a stupid fellow who did it." People frowned upon this, but I don't think that's going to be the trend hereafter. That there will be a lot of, not just one change, one career change, there may be two, three career changes that is going to happen in the next future, because some of the jobs that you have will just go out of fashion, will just disappear, and then what will you do? You'll have to now shift to another career. So I think the next generation, the current generation, the millennials, have to be open to many more career changes, reskilling, retooling, for which you need to be a learner all the time.
Superb. Hey, folks out there, this is Sir Suresh Paul Antony. Yes, thank you, Professor, so much for being here on the show and for sharing your nuggets of wisdom. He is a professor in the marketing department of IIM-Trichy. Am I right, sir?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Leela.
Superb. And he also he has been a faculty at XLRI Jamshedpur, and he is a visiting faculty at XLRI Jamshedpur. And other than these two institutions, he helps many other institutions. So please feel free to connect with Professor Suresh and Paul Antony if you are really looking for, if you're kind of lost and if you're kind of looking for direction, especially under your graduation, post graduation. So is it okay if
Yeah,
our viewers get in
yeah,
touch with you for
yeah, sure,
the
sure,
light,
sure.
the light from your lighthouse?
Sure, 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 sure. We're most happy to have these conversations, because that will be a learning for us as well. We need to
Exactly.
also get to know what the current generation is thinking. It'll be a good opportunity. Thank you.
Superb. Thank you so much, sir. Honestly,
Thank
truly
you.
humbled to have you in the show, and it's a blessing, and I'm sure our viewers will
Thank,
love it.
thank you.
Please do share this interview because it has so much of wisdom for all the young folks out there who are doing their graduation, post graduation, especially on the piece of pursuing your passion. Be childlike and
Yeah,
pursue your dreams. And
yeah,
because today's world is a lot different than what Sir's world was probably 20 years, 30 years back. Today, it's more for the common man. There's technology to actually bring our beautiful talents to light. So just be your dream, be your passion. And as Sir beautifully said it, bring it full on. There is no half hearted job. Yeah.
yeah.
So just live it truly, live it fully, and be your best. Sir, the last word for you.
No, that's it. Thank you so much. Thank you for this opportunity. It has been a wonderful, evening. Even thinking about myself, reflective. I would try to call myself a reflective practitioner. That you need to keep reflecting on whatever you do, and this has given me a godsend opportunity to, reflect on myself. Yeah, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity, Leela. I'm very thankful. Very proud
Thank
of the
you.
work. Very proud of the work that you're doing to enable people to do better in life. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. It's
Yeah,
pure grace, sir. It's pure grace. And
yeah,
I'm
it's
just following the directions that I had as an intuition. It's just coming to life. And I'm so glad that I didn't wait for my retirement to do this. Uh, God beautifully designed it in such a way that I act fast on it so that I can spend the rest of my life on a beautiful mission like this. So thank
Good.
you so much, sir, and blessings
All
from
right.
masters like you will definitely
Sure,
make a
sure,
difference.
sure.
Thank you so
You
much.
always have that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank
Good
you.
night.
Hey,
Bye.
viewers, please do share this video and like it and help a lot of youth out there so that the message reaches. Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Bye.
Yes.